Episode 9 of the Rare Network podcast. We've got Jon and Mark from CSWAP. Really excited about today. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Would love to start with a little bit about yourselves before we jump into CSWAP, the DEX. You guys have obviously been around the game for a while. I've heard your name for almost probably 2 years now, it feels like. So kind of want to start with you two, how you got into it, how you guys got into crypto, what are your backgrounds? Who wants to kick it off?
Go ahead, Mark.
Sure. So my name's Mark Williams, and first got into crypto back in 2020, kind of during the COVID times, and sitting at home, getting into crypto and sports cards and all that fun stuff you could do sitting at home in front of a computer. As time progressed in the beginning of 2021 or so, I really enjoyed listening to Charles, and I kind of got out of all my other crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything else, and pushed all into Cardano. So big fan of Cardano, big fan of the ecosystem, and that's kind of what got me into crypto and where I am today. As far as my background,
before COVID, what'd you do? What was your background that kind of led you into crypto?
So I have an MBA from USC in supply chain management, as well as financial analysis. So for work, I had a number of different things in supply chain and logistics, as well as finance, and worked at IBM for a few years in the IT space, software, hardware, cloud computing, and so forth. Most recently, I started a small healthcare business about 5 years ago, and currently spend a lot of time dedicated to that.
Really cool. And then spending some time at home, COVID, I think we all did it. That's kind of what brought me into crypto, just having a lot of time, and you kind of jump down the rabbit hole. Jon, how'd you get started? What's your background?
Yeah, so I'm from Denver originally, so happy to come home for the event there. And I studied mathematics and philosophy at UC Irvine, and it's actually funny because Charles and I both went to UC or CU Denver when we were 15 years old to study math, because we were both pretty advanced. So if I was a little bit younger, and it's hard to believe that Charles is actually younger than me because he's so successful and such a wicked genius, maybe we'd have been friends. It was being 15 years old and with all adults and college students and stuff was an interesting experience. I got really interested in like symbolic logic and philosophy of science. And so I started out as a math major, and I picked up philosophy. I actually had 2 courses in cryptography, and I did quite well in those. Never did I imagine that I would actually be working like in the field. But I went on. I started my career at Nike, where I was kind of a consultant and like a manager after a little bit of time, and I created some software that saved them quite a bit of money. And then I went off and I started my own company in the apparel industry, automating catalog solutions. So working with a lot of images and things like that, and working with a lot of creative people. And then I went on to architect several, mobile applications and web applications for Fortune 500 companies like Rexel and AstraZeneca. And then I was doing some consulting work for a nonprofit and for some universities like Stanford and Brown. and University of Michigan. And then, Mark kind of introduced me to Cardano. And, for me too, when I listened to Charles, like, I felt like I was finding a long lost friend or something. Like, it feels like we speak the same language, and I really align with his vision. I mean, he's obviously so knowledgeable and smart, that I kind of view him as like a mentor, even though I've probably only had about 5 minutes worth of conversations with him. So I'm happy to be working on Cardano. Like, I feel like it's in good hands, with Charles kind of at the helm, even though he's not pulling the strings or anything like that, just as like a thought leader in the space. Yeah, happy to be working in a space with a thought leader that I can align with in that way.
So Mark kind of led you down the rabbit hole of Cardano, huh?
Yeah, I mean, Mark got me into it. At that point, it was more like almost like an investment opportunity. And it didn't work out in the end. But and maybe Mark wants to talk about that a little bit more. But ultimately, I look the silver lining is like I would not be in the space, and I would not be working with such an amazing team and like creating innovative solutions, on Cardano if it wasn't for that experience.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially myself. Like, getting in around the same time, the peak and the hype, but you find yourself with like a project and a team of folks building something, and it finally caught on to me. Like, I was around 2017, 2018. I remember, hearing people build in the bear market and all that. It didn't really click until I got with a team and we've built what we've built here, and I haven't checked price in months at this point. We're just building cool things. And
Yeah.
having fun doing it. So I relate to that a lot. That's pretty cool that you guys kind of dove in and took the same path. What made you decide to build CSWAP? Like, what was the idea there? How'd you guys come together? Were you guys just like, we need to do something fun in the industry? How did the idea come about?
Well,
Do you want me to give the
I'll let Mark
backstory
give
on
a
CSWAP?
little background on it. Maybe the PC version, I guess, because we don't want to alienate.
do the whole version.
Okay, so
Oh,
going
do the
back
whole
to
version. Okay, do
going
the whole
back
version.
to 2021, before Cardano had smart contracts, right? So as I mentioned, I really, I sold my Ethereum, I sold my Bitcoin at ADA, and wanted to get into new projects on Cardano, but there weren't smart contracts yet. So I noticed a project called Card Starter that was a launch pad that was essentially, pitching. They were launching the first projects on Cardano, although they were ERC20 tokens when they were launching. So if you think, and some of the bigger projects on Cardano were launched by Card Starter, and with that, Card Starter had said, "Hey, we're going to create our own DEX, the first DEX on Cardano, and all the projects that we launch will exclusively be on our new DEX called CardSwap, and the ticker was CSWAP." And they offered some pretty high APR if you paired Ethereum with Card Starter, and I think the Card Starter token jumped to like $80, and back when Ethereum was $4,000, and so you had people mining the token, expecting to get the the STEX token, and then probably in June or July, CardStarter and SundaySwap announced the partnership. They said CardStarter says, "Hey, we're not going to build our DEX anymore. We're now partnering with SundaySwap," and both teams said, kind of read between the lines. All you guys holding CSWAP are going to get SundaySwap instead. So once I heard that kind of got me even more excited. So instead of just providing liquidity and mining, I continued to accumulate and purchase this ERC20 CSWAP token, expecting it to convert to Sunday swap, and thinking Sunday swap has the potential to be the #1 DEX on Cardano back then. It turns out it didn't. But so this community arose out of it. So roughly 1,500, 2,000 people, and everybody was really excited, thinking that, hey, we're getting into this thing early before Cardano even has smart contracts. We're now holding this ERC20 token that's going to be converted to this native Cardano token as soon as Sunday swap goes live. So the build up to this of several months, and nonstop Telegram channels going, and everybody hyped up, and members from both teams talking to us and in the Discord and stuff like that. And we're thinking, okay, this thing's gonna really moon, right? We're in the bull market, things are looking good. And end of January, we're ready for the Sunday swap launch. Kept getting pushed back. I think first they said November, December, then okay, end of January. And so there were 3 million CSWAP tokens out there, and all of us are kind of expecting, okay, great, we're going to get this this one-to-one conversion or whatever it will be. And then Sunday swap launched, and everybody was like, okay, what's happening to our stuff? And they said, well, both teams, you guys aren't really getting anything. And the market cap went from roughly $50 million to zero, like that. So this community of 1,500, 2,000 people lost a cumulative $50 million in an instant. And it was a big financial hit to myself. I mean, honestly, it was tough. It was tough for some time. It was not easy. And the community really, came together, and first this disbelief and this anger, and because so many people had invested so much money, so much time, thinking that there was a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, where they believed in the project, they believed in Cardano, and to get the quote unquote rug pulled out from underneath us, and lose everything in those investments was really hard. So initially there was a lot of anger amongst the CSWAP community, towards the cards team, and then then they kind of made an announcement and showed some screenshots between an agreement between them and the Sunday swap team, and the Sunday swap team dismissing the CSWAP community, saying, hey, you guys can get 10 million tokens instead of the hundreds of millions that we promised you. And that set everybody off, right? So the anger really began to focus on Sunday swap, and what they did to our community. So we're not part of either retail community investment going litigation between CardStarter and Sunday swap that we're not involved in. We're not privy to any inside information. It's all public knowledge. It's been going on for probably 18 months or so, and who knows how long that will continue. But out of that, our kind of devastated community, we came together, and we said, hey, we can build a project for ourselves. So Jon and I have been friends for over 20 years. Jon's got an extensive software development background, and Jon says, hey, I can build something better than this myself. Let's see what we can do. So one by one, we were adding team members from the community, and we love to say, the team is the community, and the community is the team for CSWAP, the new CSWAP, which has nothing to do with the previous CardStarter community and things like that. So one thing we did do in order to honor these devastated members of the community, we said, hey, as we go on this journey and we build the new project, we are going to honor those ERC20 holders in this new project. So when you look at a team like Sunday Swap takes 25% of the tokens, or others team take 20 or 30 or whatever it is, new CSWAP team, took a very low percentage of tokens, and then what would have been the remaining team tokens all go to the community, because we're all in this together, right? It's not just about us; it's about a lot more than us. So
That's really cool. So you guys took a community. I didn't know that. Like, I kind of knew about a little bit of the feud and how it got started there, but I feel like you guys were in the community. You were heavily invested. You go through this rough time, and you're sitting there with a community of people that you've been talking with forever. You guys were trying to build something, and you were like, let's just do it ourselves. And
Yep.
that's where this CSWAP kind of comes out of that. That's like the phoenix rising out of the ashes.
Phoenix
what kind
rising out of the
happened there,
ashes.
basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like,
And
I do
so,
want to say that, I mean, people had to warm up to the idea. It's not like everyone's like, let's build it ourselves. I had to really convince people that this was possible. And so, Mark, a dear friend of mine, obviously believed in me from the start and supported me from the start. But little by little, we started to earn over or win over the community. Because at that point, some people were just disenchanted with crypto and Cardano altogether. I mean, they didn't know who to trust. So it was it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to get started, but um, there this community is full of some really talented and smart and well-off people, who are not happy. So we're lucky to have such a strong community. It's a shame that essentially we started off like $50 million in the hole, if you think about it, instead of like having a community with people that are ready to open up their wallets to support. And so, but we're happy with where we're at now. But sorry to interject. I just wanted to make that point.
no, that's a really good point. And like, I like how the story comes together to get you guys where you are today, and like the perseverance there to kind of like push through and make something of it. And like, you guys are all there talking, discussing, there's something to be built. You all are very like-minded folks. Kind of what did the DEX thing, because it seems like you guys have gone several different routes. So like, what are all the products or services underneath the CSWAP we see today that you guys are working on?
So like initially, the plan was just to build a better DEX than Sunday Swap, right? But we need to figure out how to get these tokens over from Ethereum, like into our Cardano native token CSWAP that we were going to be launching. And so, back when you mentioned the phoenix rising from the ashes, we decided, and I kind of came up with this idea to use an NFT that kind of memorializes what we had all been through, and use that as like a vesting contract slash bridge to, in alignment with an Ethereum smart contract, to bridge the tokens from Ethereum over to Cardano, and then have that NFT be like a vesting contract so that folks could receive those tokens, over a period of time to where it would be healthy for the ecosystem.
Got it. So like, kind of coming up with the NFT DEX, and the DEX itself with the NFT finance, that was all kind of working out how do we get those ERC20 tokens onto Cardano, and these are the things we'll need.
Well, that was what really got us
Or that
interest.
sparked it.
That sparked our interest in NFTs and the use cases for NFTs. Like, we've realized that NFTs were kind of in their infancy, like as artwork and PFP. And like, one analogy I like to use is like, going back to the early human history. Like, what was the first way that we communicated? And it was with paintings on cave walls, right? And over time, communication evolved, and so I look at that. I look at the first use case of NFTs being an extremely valuable one, in art. as the most primitive, universal, emotional form of human expression and communication. And then we wanted to add on top of that. So it's like we took an NFT, and this was like in early 2022, and turned it into a vesting contract. Now that's something that like any business could use, really. I mean, if I've had a traditional startup, and managing all the vesting and all the legal stuff and stock options and all, it's a pain in the butt. So imagine if you could just issue an NFT, and the smart contract took care of all of the logistics, and you didn't have to worry about any legal issues or anything, you know. So it was a great achievement for us, from the get-go. And then we started to think about, all the use cases for NFTs and kind of the future of finance and how NFTs fit into that. And like I've, you know, coming up with interesting use cases, like thinking about how NFTs can be used, like in the medical system, like the global healthcare system, for folks to own their own healthcare information, but also be able to give access to different medical facilities without having to deal with like the integration of several different centralized healthcare systems in different countries with different languages and like so on and so forth. So I'm just like, wow, that's just one use case. So the use case for NFTs is crazy. And so we wanted to create, the first idea I came up with is a lending protocol, and it's something we're still working on behind the scenes. But what we felt like was really needed, or something that would be really great for Cardano, would be an NFT DEX. And it works just like a regular DEX. It's kind of a more primitive form, but it essentially treats floor NFTs as fungible tokens, and allows folks to trade them in and out of the pool, instant liquidity without a partner or anything like that. And so that's just like the foundation of our NFT finance platform. We're going to be doing a lot of really cool stuff, a lot of more advanced stuff. But we just launched that a couple weeks ago, and people are really enjoying that. But what we think is really going to be exciting is having our fungibles DEX and our NFT DEX sitting right alongside one of another, so we can really explore the relationship between NFTs and NFT project tokens, or even other tokens, and how they can interact with one another to create new use cases and opportunities, for decentralized finance, like using crypto, that have not been able to, just haven't been done in traditional finance. So I feel like we're really on the cutting edge of creating some really cool technologies, and like this is just like the start.
Yeah, that's really cool. So like how does it work with like a DEX of NFTs? Like if you have like a grouping, like a collection, let's say, right? How does that work with like moving floor prices and buyers and sellers coming in and picking the price they want to either buy or sell at? How does that work with a DEX of NFTs that are like kind but maybe have some different attributes to them? How does the pricing of the NFTs work in there?
Well, generally, if you look at a traditional NFT marketplace that has that like kind of peer-to-peer trading format, like
Mhm.
you'll see a floor price for the project, and that's a very important, like it's a very, what's the word I'm looking for, support. It's a support, essentially, for the market. And so people generally use that as a basis, and they do their trading around that level, that support. If you're selling an NFT, you might get a little bit less. If you're buying an NFT, you might have to pay a little bit more. But generally speaking, most of the trades are happening around that support level. Of course, we don't want to discount rares and trait floors and everything like that. And that's actually something that we're going to be addressing with our next iteration. So right now we just have, one pool per project, but like we're within the next couple days, we're going to start rolling out like trait based pools. So like you'll have pools for NFTs with shared traits, you know. So essentially, it creates different levels. And I mean, we're focused on the DEX side of the NFT marketplace right now, but our CTO actually architected it as a order book AMM hybrid. So we can essentially have, NFTs that don't necessarily fit into any of these categories, maybe like one of ones or something, like sitting on top of this platform, as things that can just be purchased, by interested buyers. And since it's an order book system, it kind of works with like limit orders. So you can put in an order, if the person drops the price and it hits that limit order, the transaction will go through automatically. So there's a lot of really cool stuff, and we're just like, this is just like the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, I mean, most of the NFTs traded in collections are around the floor price, if you think about it. Yeah, like
Those
seven.
limit
Yeah.
bids would be pretty interesting to look at, like the data on that, where people are like setting their limit bids at and where they're trying to like snipe NFTs would be really cool data to kind of dig through, I feel like.
Yeah, and like we're talking to Tap Tools right now about they're actually working on, I won't reveal, but they're working on some really cool stuff with their NFT data that could be extremely helpful in terms of us being able to create snipe indicators and arbitrage opportunities, because there are opportunities to, like, arbitrage opportunities. There's a couple different types of those. Some are instant, where you can literally just buy an NFT off another marketplace, sell on ours, and make an instant profit in ADA, even with like the royalties and everything. Some are a little bit more involved. I don't know if that would be considered an arbitrage opportunity, more of like a pseudo arbitrage opportunity, where like you're maybe putting in collection offers on another marketplace and acquiring an NFT, for a lower price, and then you can sell into our pools for instant liquidity. Like ultimately, it's good for the ecosystem in general. Like it benefits both platforms. So I
Yeah,
mean,
helps with price discovery all around.
and like I reached out to, I know JPEG's kind of the NFT behemoth in our space, but I reached out to their team, and I've had some chat with Penny, the new CEO there, and we're going to be across from them at Rare Evo. So I'm sure we'll have some good conversations on how we can potentially, create some more volume and some more opportunities in the space with this new technology. So.
I love that. And the website here that I'm showing is very clean, professional looking. You integrate with all the wallets, which I find amazing. I don't have to like figure out which one I need to use with your project. You guys have integrated with mostly everyone that I've used so far. And I find it really interesting about kind of mixing fungible and non-fungible, like thinking about all the gaming projects and a lot of the NFT projects even that have come out with their own token and the relationship of that with the NFTs. Like, what's your thought on that and how those will interact? That's really interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's super interesting. We're super excited about it. So, a couple of things on that. So, one, we just released like the first token backed NFT on Cardano, and it doesn't just have one token backing it, it has three different tokens backing it. So, we use
What?
SIP60. Yeah, we use SIP68 to embed CSWAP, ADA, and our partner tokens. Depending on the design, if it's like a quick NFT, it will have quick token and CSWAP token and ADA. So it's kind of like an index, like a utility index fund. And the concept behind this idea actually came up in trying to solve a problem, and the problem was when ADA Moon NFT floor prices go down a little bit, they don't. It's like you should be able to put your ADA in an NFT and have it, correlate with the price of ADA. But it seems almost like there's this fight between a peg against the dollar and a peg for ADA. And so we're like, how can we solve that problem? And we thought, well, let's just embed some ADA in the NFT, right? So if ADA goes up in price, like the NFT will more correlate with the price of ADA, and it should perform better against the market if in a crypto bull market, right? So ADA could 10x, right? So what's that going to do to the price of the NFT, right? So then we're like, okay, let's do one better. Let's add CSWAP token in there too, because a DeFi token is much more volatile and has much more upside than like a layer one, right? So that adds even another factor. And then we add the wild card of the partner token. And it's like, this is really cool. You're getting an NFT, which is a token, and then you're getting 3 other tokens with it. So you're getting a token of tokens. And I feel like it's a really cool innovation, not just for NFTs, but for finance in general. Because in traditional finance, you could buy an options contract or something like that. But it's not like there's a limited number of options contracts, I'm sure there is, but I mean, it's just not even a factor. What we're talking about is an NFT with artwork with scarcity. There's only a limited number of them. So that on its own is a token with scarcity and what I'd like to call extrinsic value. Then now you have these embedded tokens and their intrinsic value. And to take it even a step further, you're expressing these tokens in the form of LP so that the purchasers of these NFTs were actually creating LP for the CSWAP token and our partners. And we're going to be launching that LP on MinSwap, over the next couple of weeks. And then we're going to migrate that over to our DEX when it's ready. So when our DEX is ready, and then we're going to have a special section. So I'm going in a full circle to what you asked earlier. We're going to have a special section for NFT project tokens, right? And we're going to focus. So we have 10 partners, 5 of them have tokens. We know, the Ape Society has Society token. Crocs has C4. There's some pretty great like NFT project tokens in the space. And we want to do some innovation around the relationship between NFTs and their project tokens by having a special section on our DEX that's just for NFT project tokens. And then we also have staking for NFTs. We have our own minter baked in that we're going to be able to create new types of financial assets with. And then we also have the NFT DEX. We're going to have NFT lending. So if you can imagine having the power of a fungibles DEX sitting next to an NFT DEX and all the different things you can do, it's going to be amazing. Like, for instance, you'll be able to buy any NFT on our NFT DEX with any token you want in one transaction, just because it'll like zap, it'll use the fungibles DEX to swap the token into whatever, into ADA or whatever. And then you could be providing LP for that NFT collection and the fungible token of that, and essentially get LP rewards twice, like once on the NFT liquidity and then once on the fungibles liquidity. So it's going to open up a lot of doors and just really add some sophistication and more opportunities to the NFT ecosystem. And I think by the time the next quote unquote bull market comes around, or we start to see more mass adoption, I think Cardano, the Cardano NFT ecosystem will really benefit from our presence. I think it'll make it an attractive place for folks from other NFT chains or whatever, like Ethereum and Solana, that are just fed up with the shenanigans, and the culture on other chains. So.
question that kind of comes up when thinking about it, when you talk about like NFTs that kind of have tokens embedded in them, are people able to embed tokens in the NFT, like more of the tokens, or remove tokens from it? Or are those like forever locked in the NFT once they're in there?
I mean, you can do both with SIP68. The thing with SIP68 is you can actually, it actually makes traits or metadata mutable. So you could change the number of tokens. For our particular NFTs, we have the rule that it's expressed in LP. So the amount of LP tokens won't change in these specific NFTs. But of course, with LP, the number of tokens fluctuates. So we're going to have a tool where you're going to be able to see exactly, how many tokens are in, each NFT and how much they're worth. And then you'll be able to use a smart contract to burn the NFT and get the tokens out at any time, which is, I'm not so sure many people will use because conceptually the NFT should always be worth more than the tokens inside the NFT, because there's extrinsic value to the NFT and the tokens represent that intrinsic value, but it needs to exist as proof. That smart contract needs to exist as proof that you can actually get the tokens out of there. It'll be interesting to see if people actually use it. But we're talking to like Quick, for instance, is one of our partners, and we talked to them about the idea of like token embedded gaming collectibles. So imagine you're playing like a role playing game or something like that, and there's like rare swords, right? Maybe there's only like 50 of these rare swords. Think about like Steam Marketplace or something like that. Like if you get a loot box and you get a super rare sword, or you find it, so it's rare and it's valuable, right? Because of its scarcity. But what if you also embedded a in system or in like an economy gaming token inside of that NFT? It would give it another dimension to its rarity. So maybe a common sword only has 20 game tokens embedded, whereas like the super rare sword has like 100. And it's like if you burnt that sword, you could get the tokens out and buy 5 common swords if you wanted to. But in the process, that would make the other rare swords even that much more rare. Or you could just sell it to someone else, and then it would give an intrinsic value to the gaming collectible. And then when you have a marketplace for these gaming collectibles, which lends itself to crypto, I mean, obviously a crypto gaming collectible marketplace would make a lot more sense and be a lot more robust than something like Steam Marketplace, that we're seeing in Web 2. So this technology can be useful in gaming as well as in finance, and I'm sure there's other use cases too. But yeah, I mean, we created the first of its kind, especially with LP, because how many NFT projects are creating a DEX for which they need LP for? So I mean, it's pretty cool.
That is really cool, honestly. Do you see, it kind of seems like the first use case is gaming, and then kind of as things evolve, you're going down more of like a financial path. Does that make sense? Or
Well, I mean, we're exploring. I mean, we're talking to NFT projects that have a tie to real estate. Like, there's, I mean, commodities. Like there's mining NFTs. I'm not quite sure how tokens are going to play into that, but yeah, I mean, I think a very simple use case for the token embedded NFTs would be gaming, and it's something we definitely want to do and explore with our partners and see what that would look like on like kind of like a gaming section of our platform that's dedicated to collectibles.
and I want to kind of ask about the roadmap here, where you guys are at. When do you see the DEX releasing and things like that?
So we are in the process of we're a little bit behind on updating the roadmap here on the website. It's like on our to-do list. It's just we're so busy like developing and working with the community that we haven't had a chance. And we haven't been selling our token. The only way to acquire it has been through NFT staking, ISPO, and there's a couple different NFT programs. But so it's not like we've been like really focused on a bunch of documentation trying to get the public to like invest in this project, especially during a deep bear. But I mean, I will say that this stuff definitely needs to be updated.
Hey, I completely understand that. For us at Rare Evo, people are like, when's the agenda? Is the agenda correct online? And we're like, we are heads down building this massive event. I promise the agenda will look perfect on the website when we get to the event. And it's tough. Things are always moving around. People are in, people are out, their topic changes, the room changes, the sponsorship changes, whatever it may be. So I totally get it.
But at least you can see that we've been checking things off our roadmap. We're on track. We're excited to kind of share what we're working on next and in a more public manner. Our community kind of knows where we're at. And I could go into that further, but yeah, I mean, we're super excited for all the opportunities with this new like technology, this new platform. I mean, like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like we've got all kinds of things we're building on top of it, starting with trait-based pools. Then we're going to allow people to add their own liquidity and earn liquidity rewards, and then you'll be able to stake your CSWAP token for revenue share. And then we've got this totally new kind of gamified pool that we're calling it. We have a code name for it called the DGen pools that are going to sit alongside the CNFT pools, and they're going to offer great utility for the CSWAP token, and both be useful and like maybe another step forward in finance, in gamified finance, and how we're just pushing the envelope. We're pushing the envelope with our NFTs, with this new platform, and people shouldn't expect any less from us as we move forward.
That's awesome. What can people expect out of you guys at Rare Evo?
Well, I got some green and black Jordans that I think are gonna be really sick.
Gonna be a hit. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Ready to
I mean,
party.
this is our first booth. We've been kind of in stealth mode. So
Introducing the team, getting to know the community.
Yeah, introducing the team, getting to know the community. We've got plenty of friends there that friendly projects like M Labs, Ape Society. We're right next to the Hosky booth. As I mentioned, we were talking to some folks on the JPEG team. There's just so many projects where we're excited to meet people in person, and then projects that we haven't really spoken with before that we want to meet. And then we also know there's going to be folks from Web 2 there. I worked at like a Microsoft sponsored incubator at the University of Washington and stuff. So I have some connections there, but there's going to be some Microsoft folks there. There's going to be some gaming folks there. I'm not quite sure if they, I'm not quite sure how much we want to talk about our ideas with them because, they got all the money, but we're gonna be sharing our platform, with folks, so they can see what we're doing now. And I mean, that's another thing too. It's like about documentation. It's like, do we really want to like share every little thing we're working on that like really kind of hasn't been done before on our website or on our roadmap? And so I think moving forward, our roadmap might just have some question marks or speak about things like a bit generically, because there's really no benefit to kind of telling people what you're going to do before you do it, like unless you're trying to raise money. So
I completely agree with that. And then, like, once you tell them you're going to do something, people try to hold you to a deadline. They don't really understand how things work when you're building and testing and,
Yeah.
reiterating things. Things get pushed back, stuff happens. So I totally get that. Once you put stuff out to the public kind of holds your feet to this fire that's not even really there. It's everybody's building, kind of pushing through it. So
Yeah, and
I
it's like if
completely
you
get it.
really if you have good ideas, if they're truly good ideas, why would you want to be broadcasting them out to the universe so that other people? And I'm not saying, I mean,
Hmm.
generally speaking, if you have a good idea, there's somebody else doing it at the
That
same
has your
exact
idea.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we're living in a huge world, but I mean, why lower that barrier for everybody else? You know, we've seen other projects kind of do that, put out some UI for something like 6 months, 8 months before it's actually due, and I'm just like, why are you even doing that? Unless it's to like raise money or create hype or something like that, we like to have fun and we like to get excited with our community and Twitter and everything like that. But it's like, one thing we learned from our experience is like it wasn't fun to kind of get all hyped and then get like let down, so we're sensitive to that, and we just like to have a more measured approach and then hope that people get really hyped once our stuff, and they have, like, once they're actually able to use our stuff, and we don't need to tease them about it for a year, to because that's just, it gets a little old. I think people are a little tired of being on the emotional roller coaster of like, we're gonna build the greatest thing ever, like this metaverse game where you can, you know, walk around and actually smell things, and people are like, "Oh my god, I need this," and then it's like years down the road, and people just get fatigued, man, from all the hype. So we
Yeah.
we let people know what's coming when we know when it's going to be done, and that we feel like that's good enough for now.
Absolutely, man. Where does your community currently hang out? Like, where can people find you guys or find the community and kind of learn more?
I mean, we have Discord, we have Telegram. I'd say we have more folks on Discord right now that are active. We kind of use Telegram and Discord for different things. I would say Telegram has more of a DeFi crowd on it, and they're not as active, but we put out information on there, and they don't check their phone because they're busy being CEOs or whatever they do. Because like seriously, they're really successful people that were early adopters on Cardano that got rugged, and they're interested in what we're up to, but they're not, they don't have time to sit around in Discord and chop it up with us. But we've got a lot of people in Discord. We've got an amazing Discord like mod, if that's even what you're gonna call it. I mean, we call the folks who help people out community advocates. We're not there to. We've never had to discipline anybody. I think if you're just like, I think calling yourself a moderator like makes people want to push the boundaries, right? Like, we're literally just there to help people understand what we're doing, answer any questions, and just have fun in the Discord. And then, we put stuff out on Twitter a lot. And I'm on Spaces from time to time. I'll post a Spaces on our Twitter, and people can listen to it, after the fact if they didn't catch it the first time. But I feel like I've been
Yeah.
hogging the mic. Maybe Mark wants to talk a little bit about the community.
Sure. I mean, I think John's hit on a lot of topics. We've got a passionate community, and it's a diverse community, right? So we've got a lot of those, people that were investing in DeFi initially on the ERC20 side, before the smart contracts, and then kind of our newer community on the Cardano side and on the CNFT side. So both passionate, and I myself was one of those people who was more focused on DeFi before, and now I'm huge into NFTs, and I've become a huge NFT collector. So I mean, if you look behind me, I'm a collector of basketball cards, and I've got a big Tom Brady autograph on there and everything like that, and those things, definitely I enjoy, and then that kind of got me into the NFT space as well. So, the NFT communities, I think, are fun, or passionate, are active, and great to engage with. And you kind of make friends with people over Twitter that you've never seen before, haven't met, and just with this common bond and community, and it's fun. So it's not all business, right? It's fun, and it's community, and a huge thing on NFTs and crypto is the community portion of it. So a successful NFT project is going to have a big community and passionate community behind it, and a successful crypto project is the same thing. It's got to have a passionate community behind the project, and users and everything like that. So when it comes down to it, it's about the people. So, so I think we recognize that on our team, and as I mentioned earlier, our founding team came from that community, and we rely on them for support, and for they keep us going, right? So we're not doing this just for us; we're doing it for others.
Yeah, man, that makes a lot of sense, and like it's kind of comes full circle almost. Like the community you guys came out of, you've become leaders in, and you kind of put that back towards your community and the people around you to kind of lift everybody up. Like the rising tide raises all boats, it kind of seems like is going on. So I like that a lot. And what do you think, anything that we haven't touched on that you think needs to get touched on in a podcast for you guys? Anything the community would want to hear that you haven't put out there? Something spicy future roadmap that you don't want to mention, but we'll do it just for us?
Well, I don't know about that, but I will. What I will,
I had to try.
We'll see if I can think of something that I want to share. Well, we're going to be adding about another 100,000 ADA and TVL later today, so that's pretty spicy. So we've got a big project coming onto the platform. So
that's amazing.
Awesome.
Watch Congratulations on that.
Yeah. So we should actually be in the top. I think we'll be like 13 or something, or 14 on DeFi Llama once we integrate in terms of TVL on Cardano. And like we literally launched our beta like 2 weeks ago. So I think we're on an awesome trajectory to get into that top 10, and our goal is to be at the top, in terms of TVL and volume. And we're starting off small, but all signs are pointed into continued growth. But one thing I wanted to touch on is this in Mark talking about the community and the importance of the community in NFT projects. And then you've got, the DeFi projects that, are super, they attract a different sort of audience in some cases. And then there's some crossover. So what we want to do is kind of bring these two communities together to some extent, like through our platform. We think there are many positives to the NFT ecosystem, especially on Cardano. Like there's some extremely bright, creative people who are making crypto very accessible to the general public. So when we talked about what was the first form of communication, it was art, so people love art universally. So making art, making music, allowing it to have royalties, gaming collectibles, so on and so forth. That's going to bring people in. So that's an important arm of what we're trying to do. So a lot of DeFi folks may look at us and say, oh, they're an NFT project. They're working with NFTs. NFTs only have 500,000 volume a day on Cardano, while fungible tokens have 20 million volume a day. So So they may be looking at it from that aspect. It's like, okay, the fungibles market's 40 times the size of NFTs. These guys are focused on NFTs. I'm going to focus more on a project that just deals with fungibles. But what they're missing is the fact that there's so much growth for NFTs as a financial instrument and catalyst to push this whole space forward. Charles even talked about the fact that NFTs are much more flexible and have many more use cases than fungible tokens. And this is something that I came up with, because a fungible token is one unit of something, and an NFT is something of everything. And I think we've demonstrated that with our NFT, our non-fungible token, that has 3 tokens embedded in it and expressed in the form of LP. I mean, this is just one. It's not the most basic example. We didn't want it to be, but I mean, this is a sign of what's possible. I mean, you're going to be able to have an asset with scarcity, with other assets with scarcity embedded inside that asset, essentially creating a whole new type of asset class, right? That doesn't exist, and people. So people will have more control, and more options available in terms of finance or collectibles or whatever you want to call it, because of this type of innovation. And like I said, we're just like at the beginning. We're at the beginning. This is just the start, and things are only going to get better from here, and more tied into the real world and Web2 and gaming and healthcare and real estate and all the different areas that we want to explore with this, NFT finance technology. And we think Cardano is the perfect place to do it. We feel very comfortable on this chain with the community. There's so many wonderful folks, building on Cardano, that are just part of the community, and have similar vision and hope for the future, for financial freedom for people, and we're happy to be a part of it, be part of its growth.
That was really well said, to be honest, and really excited for what you guys are doing. I actually learned a lot during this podcast about how your community came together and like how this all works and what you guys are building. So I think this was really cool. I'm excited we got together and did this, and looking forward to meeting next week at the event and shaking some hands in person and having a drink and learning more at the same time about what you guys are getting into. Anything else before we wrap it up? Anything else we should touch on, you think?
Well, I just want to give a shout out to the entire CSWAP community. And there's a special place in my heart, obviously, for the folks that were affected by the great rugging of early last year. And I don't think anybody can quite understand unless they were there to see like the devastation and the pain, and we're doing everything we can to like restore this community. We are a business, but we want everybody who supports us and who believes in us to succeed along with us, and we've got your back. So we're on the right track. Go
Well
ahead,
said.
Mark, if you want to say anything.
Yeah, that was well said, John. I think that's a high note to leave it on.
Absolutely. Well done, man. I really appreciate the time this evening. Definitely want to have you guys back after the event. You guys get through some launches. I get to calm down and have a little bit of vacation. We should definitely do this again, and I appreciate the time.
Thanks for having us on, Rand.
Can't wait to meet you in person, buddy. Looking forward to it.